Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to our latest episode of How to Build a Game Studio. It's been a little bit, but we've been pretty heads down working on that sweet teaser trailer that we hope that you've looked at and watched and loved and told all your friends about and all that good stuff. So I am Trevor Oz. I'm here today. I am joined by our studio head, Kent Gamble,
Hello, and thank you for having me, Mr. Trevor.
and our artist extraordinaire, Moody Hamo.
Hello, and thank you for having me, Trevor.
We're doing
Thanks
an
for joining
NPR thing.
us.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, we made a trailer and put it out to the world. How do
Oh
you
yes.
Just tired.
think?
Well, technically, we gave people a little bit of a tease, right? A little teaser, a little something, something.
That's
But
true. The full trailer is still being worked on as we speak.
Yeah, so we'll have a full reveal trailer and a demo sometime in May. We're still working on those, and we plan to have them out then. So be on the lookout for all that stuff. You can go to winterborngames.com and externusgame.com. So yeah, that's the name of our game, Externus Path of the Solari.
oh
Um,
yeah.
Hmm?
So Kent, you were the one that suggested that name at one point.
Was I? Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. It's one of the ones that came up at like 4 a.m. when I couldn't sleep and was just looking up what was registered and trademarked and available that made sense for the game. I do recall that.
yeah. So I know in I forget which language, it might be like German or maybe Greek or something like that. Externus essentially means like outside, foreign, that sort of thing. So
Oh, I didn't know it wasn't I thought it was an English word, but I guess. I
It's
mean, I
like
never.
I think it's a medical term.
yeah, in English it's used as a medical term to mean like outside of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Now, we're not willing to tell everyone just exactly what you are outside of yet because that's a big part of the game, but basically finding out what Externus is a big part of the game. So, I know it's not a word that a lot of people know, and kind of finding out what that is, and you'll get hints about it as you're playing the game. That's actually going to be part of it.
yeah. So it definitely weaves into the fabric of the world and the adventure that we're crafting right now. So it makes a lot of sense
Mysterious.
in concept.
In the meantime, they can just keep watching that teaser because I mean, we worked hard on that. I think we did a good job on it. Uh, yeah.
I agree. Moody did a fantastic job. Trevor, fantastic job. Fantastic jobs all around.
I think overall, when you're putting out a trailer, for that it was a huge team effort, because we needed you, Kent, and Jack to get the game to where it was at that point where we could start showing it. So we needed you to do that, and then we needed Moody's art and all of that stuff inserted into the game to be able to make it look good, so that we could show even a piece of it, a little piece of it that we showed. We needed Boo's expertise because his sound is like, I mean, the fact that he literally spelled it out for me, like, these are the places you're putting these sound effects in.
Nice.
So, I mean, he did that, and then I just had the skeleton of the whole thing there, and I mean, it really was a team effort from all of us. So, I'm pretty proud of what we do as a team.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because like obviously we're making the game, and part of the job, I guess, in making a game is obviously making sure everyone gets, knows that it's there by like advertisement, and obviously you do the social media part, but like you said, to make the product itself, it's kind of funny how it's still like the game essentially needs all of us to assemble it. The teaser is no different than the game, but just almost like a much smaller version of that, where everyone had their bit involved, and it's kind of I just never had like made a teaser like that. It's kind of interesting how it was almost a small version of making the game.
Yeah, kind of. It's very much, yeah, like you said, it's a microcosm of the game as a whole, and the development process, and the last weekend we were working on it, just the back and forth of, hey, this is great, this is not, pull this. We were doing a lot of stuff to change things around, and trying to get the best possible trailer we could do. Uh, so how do you feel about everything, Kent?
Yeah, I'm really happy with what we came up with. A couple of the things I didn't really expect is, I've worked on a lot of games, and obviously they've all had trailers, but this is the first experience I've had kind of being involved with making the trailers. Most of the time, especially when I was, working AAA, it's like they would hire some company, or they have an internal team somewhere where they're just like, here's a bunch of footage and like a build, kind of go make the trailer, and then they would just come back with it. Whereas this time it was just like, all right, we have no one to turn to, we're making this trailer, it's time to do it. And on top of that, just like in my mind originally, it's, we have this game, we just record some footage, and then boom, we have a trailer. But that's actually pretty far from the case. I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into it that isn't directly related to the game. Everything from what do we show, what do we hold back for the teaser or the reveal trailer, how long should this be, like, kind of things that we took for granted, because we know the game, we know the story, we know the tabletop origins, like bringing in kind of Genevieve and her mom Judy as, as third party, and them being like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, I don't understand this, how about this or this. There was just a lot of kind of trailer specific thought that went into it, because not everyone knows the game or the tabletop version. In fact, most people don't, because there was a very small group of us that played it.
Right.
So
yeah. So there's probably, I mean, throughout the years, probably 15 people who would actually know what the game is, really. Probably more than, probably maybe like 20, but
yeah,
you know what I'm saying. It's this very small group of people that actually understand what we were doing in your basement every Friday night. So
What were you doing in the basement? Just sounds so shady.
well, we were playing. We did give it a code name. It was called Elephant for a while.
yeah, so it got the code name Elephant because one of the players, Ted, his dad was and would not have his son going and playing Dungeons and Dragons or any tabletop game, like,
Oh
because
wow.
that was basically what we would call it at the time. Because I mean, pretty much every tabletop game was called D&D at the time. So to get around calling it that, Ted, I think Ted just randomly said, like, his dad asked him where he was going. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna go play Elephant."
Oh, elephant, it's like horse. It's a little different.
Yeah, it's longer than longer than elephant. It's longer than horse.
It's longer than horse. Yeah.
But it's also like, I'm like, his dad didn't ask anything, like, didn't ask any questions like what the hell is elephant or anything. But
I just want to imagine him like saying back, being like, "What is it?" Like, he's just trying to figure it out for himself. He's not going to ask. He's just like, "What is that?" It's like,
I would just try to figure it out.
yes.
Don't want to look the fool.
That should have been dude. That would have been a great code name for this game, Code Elephant.
Code Elephant. I don't know. I personally like Project Solari.
yeah, that was our code name, Project Solari, obviously, to go off the fact that you see our subtitle is Path of the Solari, so it definitely has to do with a faction that's in the game, I will say.
I think we can actually talk about. We can't say anything much about Externus, but we can talk about who the Sold Out Solari are just a little bit. Just a very high overview, because there's actually a lot involved they're a very important faction in the game, like Trevor said. But just kind of a really high level, the Sold Out Solari are a group, a loosely knit group of people who travel the world, and their kind of focus is keeping balance in the world. So it's very important to them to try to keep everything safe, in order. It can't all be happiness and roses, because it's not a realistic view of the world. But there's, I can't say exactly, but there was a pretty big event that happened in the course of the history in this world, and as a direct result of that event, the Sold Out Solari were formed, and specifically with attempting to keep balance and order throughout the world. And you'll find out, obviously, much more about both them and the event as you're playing the game. But suffice it to say that there are several Sold Out Solari that are featured throughout the game, both in your party and outside of your party. So they are a pretty major faction. And as you will see from, actually, I think it's in the teaser trailer, you'll see the very specific tattoos that all of the members have on their face, which designates someone as a member of the Sold Out Solari.
Yeah, and like you said, they're pretty important and central to our story. And I can't wait till we can talk more about that stuff, and about but I mean, at this point we can talk about a bit about, give some overview and talk about the tabletop game that we played for so long. I think
Agreed.
a game that most of us played for years. Moody is probably the only one in the studio that didn't, but he did get a little bit of a taste of it about 2 years ago now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 years ago when we were doing our initial meeting to start talking about making the studio in the game. It was around New Year's, when we normally play for our once a year games. Now that so many of us are live such a distance apart from each other. So yeah, Moody, what did you think when playing?
Well, I mean, like, I want to say initially, because like what's really interesting for me was it was honestly my first time experiencing anything that was like a tabletop experience that's like, I guess you could say, D&D esque or style. So I actually found it really fascinating because I don't know if you recall, Kent, but because I believe you were leading the game at the time when we were playing. I just started asking a lot of questions, like, so I'm like, so can I ask this? And then you'd you'd reply and let me know. And I just didn't realize how essentially, like, if you want, like, I guess if you want the plot to sort of go from like A to B like real quick, you could. But if you essentially allowed yourself, if you were like, I guess, wanted to like turn things into like other little events, I didn't know that that was all part of it when you were like rolling the dice. And I found that so engaging because I was like, all of a sudden it just felt like it's kind of like finding out that like there were like more, like you were reading a book and you're like, you just found out there was like way more books out there about the same thing. I was just like, oh, okay. I didn't know that we can get that specific about things. So I find it that like it was super immersive is I guess the best thing I could express. I just found that really engaging, how immersive from being serious to even being funny or silly, that like we could choose to roll the dice on. That was the one of the things I found like kind of awesome. Like just the control that you could have in that game is pretty awesome.
I think that's a lot of people's experience, especially for my tabletop game, because so I think again, very few people are familiar with kind of our game. A lot of people are familiar with actual Dungeons and Dragons, which is kind of one of the earliest kind of that style of tabletop game. I don't think it was the very original, but I could be wrong. But either way, it's clearly the biggest and one of the earliest kind of giant established versions of that. And it has definitely become more open from what I don't play the specific, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons very often, but it seems like it's opened up a lot more. But there's still, generally speaking, for that game, you have kind of a set thing of classes and skills, and you have the books, and you have a lot of kind of information available to you. Whereas in our tabletop game, it's a lot more open and free form, which isn't always a good thing, because sometimes it's like, oh shit, I haven't made that map yet, or I haven't done X, Y, or Z, or I have no idea how that's going to work. But it's also kind of cool in the fact that you could just literally be whatever and do whatever you want, to where we've had some very ridiculous characters throughout the game. I think several of them came from Trevor.
Yeah, that's very true. Because I know one year, because I can't remember what his name was, but I know one year I made, because it was right around the time that Shovel Knight came out, and I literally played a Shovel Knight
Mm-hmm.
in the game. So,
But yeah, it's a lot of, especially if people haven't done that before, just kind of, I think one of the most common kind of experiences for starting a role-playing tabletop game is just, what do I do? Which is, it's pretty daunting when you could just whatever you want. I mean, I know the game you played, I think at some point you had a turkey suit that you gave your pet dog.
Yeah, my pet Shiba Inu, or
Yeah.
it got really specific real quick. I was like, wow.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, one of the big things for that game was a kind of balance between serious, like big epic stories, people dying, consequences, and characters that you become attached to, and then some nights we would just totally flip that on its head, and it would just be the most absurd night ever. Some of their, we can say this because they're definitely not going to be in the game due to copyright issues, but I mean, some of the enemies were everything from the Hawaiian Punch guy, who would basically show up and just have a really powerful punch.
I know at one point there was the Hawaiian Punch trio.
Yeah, there was a whole team of Hawaiian Punch guys who would just show up.
What flavors? What flavors were they?
Oh, they were all original. They were like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think Kent wasn't playing games. He wasn't doing any of those other flavors.
They fought Green Day at one point.
Yeah, which was literally, it wasn't like the members of Green Day. It was just this big monster that had the members like coming out of the same body.
Yeah, just kind of horrible amalgam creature. It was pretty terrifying. But then obviously we had more than enough kind of really serious epic moments where we would play for absurd number of hours just kind of straight, because you just didn't want to stop. You needed to get to that next section, and a lot of that is kind of where the core of the digital version, where the story came from. But it's important to me, and I think everyone on the team, to still make sure we have some of these lighthearted moments. We have some silly characters. We have some just really silly things that still happen over the course of it, because I don't think you can't take yourself, or you can't take the game too seriously, because unless you have a very like-minded set of people on an adventure, there's going to be some contention, there's going to be some conflicts and personalities, and I think all of our characters are so different enough, and we're really hoping to have them kind of play off of each other and get into both serious and just absurd moments, because of how different they are and how much personality we're trying to instill into each of our characters.
I'll go ahead, Trevor.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's why we wanted a character-driven experience, because even at the table, our characters were all very different and almost driven partially by our own personalities at the table, and then just by whatever we thought the character would do in that moment.
I'm just recalling from the one time I got to play, like going back to my little dog that was, haha, he's wearing a turkey suit, and it's all adorable and it's funny. But I just remember at one point, yeah, like when we were just kind of going on with the story, there was a moment where that's funny and all, but then all of a sudden we were in a scenario where, if I was to be reckless, like that could have been essentially the end of him, or he or not. And I just remember like it was from like haha to being like, oh whoa, wait, this is a much more dire situation than But we had a good laugh just a moment ago, but things got a little bit more serious. So I just remember stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's good to break up like the seriousness with a little bit of levity, and because I think that's as a human, as a person, I think you do that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So like in real life, when there's a lot of uh, bad stuff going on, like I know I personally try to joke about stuff, or have a little bit of levity just to kind of like keep my mind off of it, especially like now we have so much going on in the world and stuff. So it's nice to bring a little bit of levity and something else to the table.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was choking on Mountain Dew. Hopefully you didn't record that.
We did.
I'm muted. I'm a good man.
But yeah, I mean, the experience of playing Kent's tabletop game was like unlike any I've had ever since. I mean, I play the actual D&D every weekend now. I have a couple different groups going, and it's still, there's nothing like playing Kent's game, and hopefully that's something that we'll be able to capture as a video game. And it's something that I've always wanted to share, because the main story that we went through, and that's what we're adapting into Externus Path of the Solari, is just an awesome story with some really cool characters, really fleshed out characters as well, and I hope that it translates as awesomely as I remember it, actually playing it around the table. So
Yeah, there's definitely been some difficulties and opportunities, but like, kind of referring back to what Moody mentioned before, is if you're playing a tabletop game and you have the game master right there, you can basically do anything, and kind of that story was formed specifically through that. The way I would develop my kind of campaigns or stories, so to speak, is I would have this really rough outline. It was usually like 6 bullet points, and that was the entirety of 6 months worth of gameplay there. And then kind of everything in between those points was going to be determined entirely by the players. So I mean, there were entire subplots I had to throw out because you would kill a character you weren't supposed to, or go off and do this completely other thing, or just tackle a situation in a way that there's no way I could anticipate. And so obviously there's no way to put that into a game. Like we don't have the kind of capabilities. You would really need kind of a full-fledged AI to be able to handle something like that. But the hope is that we can take what made it special, which were the kind of the big story points, the kind of unique and fun characters, just the kind of dynamic battles that you could do a lot in. We're still hoping to bring all those kind of points, but just transform them in such a way that they work in a digital format and in a tactical RPG.
yeah, I agree. I can't wait till we're done and we can show everybody everything. But yeah, we'll be showing more soon. Like we said, we're working on demo 2. I know Kent and Moody are definitely, I would say, the hardest working ones. Just because they have a lot to do. Like Moody Moody, you have a lot to do, man. There's a lot of art in this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of art, but it's just it's all part of the we gotta create that. I feel like sometimes it's almost like a magic trick. You have to make sure that I feel like we have all these ideas, and I have to make sure that we can like sell the illusion of the world, right? So
Hmm.
I guess it just comes with it. But hey, man, there's only one way we can make this world big and interesting, right? We just gotta fill it with all that stuff from like all the stories.
Yeah, and I think the really cool part about having you on the team too is I think it almost benefits us that you weren't part of that original team that actually played the tabletop game, because you can take these moments where or these settings or characters or whatever, and we can kind of describe what we see them as, and then what you interpret and the way that you put it out there, as an art piece, might be completely different than what we imagined, but at the same time, it's awesome. Like it ends up almost being like the best of our descriptions and then the best of your artistry, combined into one thing.
Well, no, thank you, man. I really appreciate that because, like, I think it's really important for me to definitely like do justice to the material that, like, we're working with, especially since, like, it's really close to everyone's heart and team, and it comes from like, in your life. So, like, I really want to make sure that what I'm doing and doing my part as the art is like making sure that that can get across and make sure that, like, I just feel like I'm just trying to like give it the same value visually. So I try, and I think, like, for example, like, I think one of the best ones was when we all were kind of like really happy with the with, I guess, the logo, because I think that's a I thought when we ended with the logo, we were pretty happy to say like this is something we can stand by, to
Yeah,
represent our game.
yeah, absolutely. Like I love that logo. Like I saw that logo and I was like, oh man, this is like it was almost kind of that moment where it's like, this is a real thing now. Like we're making a game, guys.
Yeah, no, I feel like for me personally, also like making like with games, definitely things like it's kind of like I almost like in a very silly and personal way, it brings me back to when you're like a kid, right, in school or something. And you ever remember that like did you guys ever do that, like you create the 3 or 6 lines and you create that like triangle S or something? It's almost
Yeah,
like you create your own tag essentially. And I've always loved the idea of like this symbol that can encompass something. And I was just happy when we were able to kind of like land on this idea, and we were all like, yeah, that can express the game as a first impression thing. Because like I remember even with the title, we were like going back and forth and things like that, and we spent a lot of time on that logo.
yeah, yeah. There was a lot of time. I mean, any decision we've made has not been quick and fast for the most part. It's been, hey, we need to carefully consider like every piece because we wanna do it right. I mean, not just like, because we're trying to sell a game, but we want to just make sure that it's something that we're proud of and something that we all feel is just good.
Hmm.
Yeah, agreed. It's for me at least. I know I've had a lot of people be like, "Hey, why aren't you, getting funding? Like, we're completely self-funded right now." And they're asking why haven't I talked to, venture capitalist, or why haven't I talked to kind of funding companies? And it's, for me anyway, it's more important to like have full control and bring this exact experience in the way that we want it over necessarily making lots of money or being successful. I would very much like to be able to, make enough off the first game that we can continue as a company and explore, other things, maybe different stories in the world, because there are, there are other stories in that same world, that will not be a part of kind of this game because we played it for so long and we had kind of our main campaign, but we also had a lot of like side stories. We had a lot of kind of, just stuff that didn't happen, but it was built into the history of the world that would
Mhm.
be really cool to explore. And there's a lot. But I think if we were more concerned with money and success over actually kind of this particular story, I don't think we'd be making a tactical RPG or such a kind of a niche genre. We'd be trying to make a battle royale game.
Yeah, or just something else that's like extremely like a hero shooter or something, Like that's our goal is pretty much with this game to hopefully make enough money to make a second game.
Lappy Solari.
So that's pretty much our goal, is we want to just be able to keep making games and making games that we're proud of, and make games that we would want to play ourselves. So that's really our main goal with what we're doing with Externus. So I know that we can't wait to talk more and show more. But I think that pretty much covers our trailer talk. Anything else you guys want to say before we sign off for today?
I'll go ahead, Ken. No, you go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to say, thank you. I don't know what the crossover between people that have seen the trailer and people that listen to the podcast is, but if we have any, it's been pretty positive. What people have seen. We picked up some people that are very excited for it, that kind of interact with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on various social medias. Comment on the YouTube page, praising the art, or kind of I saw ones talking about how good the sound was, and just it's been really exciting to kind of get that from people, kind of feel the reciprocal of our excitement come back at us from somebody else. And so thank you everyone that watched it and shared it, and hopefully people are as excited to see more as we are to bring you more.
Moody?
No, that was really nice, because I was about to say I was about to derail and go back to Flappy Externus.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wrap it up so nicely.
No. That I'll say I don't know what to say anymore. I think that was good. I think that's a really nice way to end it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I've pretty much posted from our Winterborn accounts about how much it means to us and the team, and my own personal accounts on all on social media and stuff. And yeah, it definitely means a lot to us that you checked out the trailer. I mean, even if you just watched the trailer, but we had a lot of good friends and family share it and help get it out there. I mean, it definitely all the positivity that we've seen from it has meant a lot to all of us as a team, and I think we're very proud of what we're doing, and I think we'll be proud to show you more. And with that, I think just remember to keep up with it. Just check externusgame.com or winterborngames.com. We'll have updates on both sites. And thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys. If you subscribe to us on iTunes, be sure to rate and review us. We would appreciate that. It lets other people know that we're doing a podcast, and they might see it in their iTunes feed so that they can listen and listen to us about what our experience making our first game, essentially. And hopefully we'll get some more developers on here to talk about their experiences as well. So, because that's definitely one of the things that we like doing, is giving other people a voice as well as our own. So we want to thank them for that, you guys for that, for listening, and hopefully we'll get back to a more regular podcast output now that we can have some stuff that we can talk about and that sort of thing. So thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank you to friends and family and everybody again. Really appreciate it.
We'll try to keep Moody focused off of Flappy Solari.
Oh, we'll see, man. We'll see.